All right, what up, everybody? We are now live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like and share this feed. Natalie's about to come on with me. This
On
is
my
episode
way.
76, I believe, of Boss Up Talks. Natalie's coming on live with me. I think you almost on there. All right, Natalie's coming on
Mm-hmm.
live, guys. Talking about sowing your way into your future. Natalie's coming on. There you go, fam. I see you.
I'm
We ain't
here.
get live in like 2 weeks, so
Almost.
slow. I miss my friend. We ain't. I'm like, where you at? There you go. Are you coming on live? All right, guys, like and share this feed. This is episode number
You know the connection always be
76. What up,
acting
friend?
slow.
All right, there you go, Natalie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got
We in the building.
it. All right, like and share this feed, guys. We're talking about sewing your way into your next level. So it's been really, really busy the past few weeks. We had to kind of take a little pause. I'm gonna blame Natalie. No, I'm just playing. No.
I know. I forgot last week, and I was like, "Wait, it's Thursday. What happened?"
Nah, but it's all
It's
good
been
though.
busy.
But no, but I love that part because Natalie, you're doing such a phenomenal job with your coaching program. So if you guys don't know, Natalie is a clarity. She is the clarity coach. She was formerly known as a mom CEO, and she transitioned to really help people really help find their clarity. And that's what she's good at. Like she is good. She can find. You tell her one thing. She have one conversation with you, and she just helped people see what needs to be seen.
Hmm.
Because when you're on this journey of life, one of the biggest things that people don't have is clarity of their purpose. And this is how we work hand in hand, because once you get clarity of your purpose,
Hmm.
you're so unstoppable. It's like how Stephen Covey say, he talks about in his book about the seven, what is it, about highly effectual people,
Yeah, 7 habits of highly effective
seven
people.
habits. He talks about how with these habits that they build up, it's like living a life versus a compass. You have to determine, hey, do I want to live based off of that GPS mindset where I have a goal to get to? Even if I may
Hmm.
get off course, I know that the GPS will reroute me. Or am I living based off a schedule that's I got to get this done, I got to get this done, and there's no really purpose attached to how you're moving. So
Oh, that's
definitely
a
excited
whole
about
new
now.
life, Chef Jay. I'm like, yo, that's a whole big topic. That's good.
No, it's true. But you know what though? What happens is when you have that clarity of your purpose, you understand the principle of sowing, right? So
Hmm.
for a long time, I've always been taught about sowing since I was younger. So we've been talking about sowing for years, Natalie and I, and we know that a
Hmm.
lot of times there are certain things that will give birth when there's a seed attached to it, right? So for example, is last my pastor Creflo, he actually preached a really good sermon last week about sowing. But years ago, he had said something: "If you have a need, you sow a seed." So one of my fellow chef friends posted something that she posted, and then I sowed a seed. I'm like, "Yo, what's your Zelle? Let me send you some bread." That seed from last week has transpired to this week that everything I need to get paid off, all the funds are here or in process for me to have that. But what happened is it took me one, not stressing about it, not worrying about where it's going to come from, just doing what I'm supposed to do. So, for example, is the clarity of my purpose lets me know that I'm supposed to be right where I'm at doing business, right? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But sometimes when you add that seed value to it, it's like God made your cookie way straight. Stuff that wasn't supposed to
Hmm.
work out, it end up working out at the last minute. Like things that didn't have enough resources for, it starts happening at this last minute because you start to live in the clarity of your purpose as well as sow a seed to attach to what you got going on.
Yo, I never like I know we talk about clarity and purpose, but just when you just said clarity of purpose, it
Mhm.
just I don't know, it just made it a lot clearer for me because this is where some people are having an issue is they don't have clarity of their purpose, right?
Mm,
And although I am phenomenal at helping people get clarity, if you don't have a vision, I can't help you. So
mm,
if you don't understand what your purpose is, I can't help you. And so there have been people who have come to me that I have to turn away because I'm not a magician. You know what I mean? Like I can't be like, "Oh, this is your purpose." I can't make up something for them. And I know that there are other people that would be like, oh, just do what I do and make money. But I'm really called to people who already have a vision on the inside of them, who already know their purpose, and just getting clear on how do we execute this and create something. How do we create a business out of who you are, basically, and knowing who you are. And a lot of times when we think about sowing seeds, right? For me, it used to be just limited to money. And even though I wasn't good at sowing seeds when it comes to money, right? I didn't realize that the words that I spoke, even about my vision, even about myself, I was sowing seeds into my business. And some of those seeds were not good seeds. Like some things I would say, and it was negative towards my business. And so when delay came, and I was like, "This is taking so long," da, 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 da. It's because for years I had been sowing seeds of doubt and delay into my business, and I didn't realize it until, I started understanding that my words also have power. That my words are a seed into what I am doing or what's coming up next. And so I have a responsibility not just to sow, and sowing money is a good aspect. Like I needed that part of it. And there are some people like we came up the same way, but you understood the power of sowing that money. I didn't get it until after the fact, that I was like, oh, my words are what's hindering my cash flow. And then when I got it in alignment, then when I sowed the seed, it was totally different than before when I was sowing in doubt. So and it's not clarity and purpose. It's not two separate things, but it's one entity in itself.
Oh yeah, I think that the reason why I think it's the same entity is because when you think about it, a lot of people are gifted, right? But because they don't have clarity of all of their giftings, they don't know how to flow, right? For example, I know I'm gifted at a lot, but I cannot do everything at the same time, because next thing you know, I'm not able to really have clarity of this one thing. And so for me, like, I'll give you a good example. And you can tell by my social media, if you look at my Instagram page, the only thing I've been promoting this last week is Thanksgiving sales. Because I know that in this season of November, what's selling for those 2 weeks before Thanksgiving is holiday orders. As an entrepreneur, it would be unbecoming of me to promote the private dining experience when everybody's about to have Thanksgiving. So if I know I sell pans of food, my attention should be shot to a different area. But when you don't have clarity of purpose or know what works for you, you'll always move around without purpose, right? So even too, for example, is when I sow, right? The reason why sowing is so important, whatever I do, once I get the clarity of my purpose, I now know how to stretch out my nets. If you remember in the Bible, there was a moment where they needed Jesus talking about like the collector. He said, "Hey, if you will, if you go fish, you'll find the coin that we need to pay Caesar inside the mouth of the fish." So what happened is, they already knew what their purpose was to do, right? Their purpose was to be disciples and to move how God wanted them to do, right? So when you have clarity of your purpose, let's say, for example, I know, for example, I'm a chef. I know that the clarity I'm supposed to have is I am called right now to teach to high school kids, as well as work in my purpose as a chef, right? Because I'm flowing in my God-given purpose and I have clarity of that. When there's a need, the need will always come, because finances and areas you're lacking is always going to be attracted to purpose, right? So whenever you have your purpose aligned, right, I don't ever have to worry about how everything's going to happen, because if God gave me the gift, this gift that has qualified my purpose, and I have clarity of it, anytime there's a need, all I got to do is sow a seed, because money is attracted to purpose. People are attracted to purpose. There's no reason why when Natalie speaks at these events that people are attracted to her voice, is because she's in her purpose. Now, before it might not have been the same thing. Like, for example, I know for a fact in this season of me now, because I'm really much so focused in my purpose, right? Everything I talk about is purpose filled. Even when I deal with my clients who come to me for coaching or social media stuff, it's a part of my purpose. So when I talk to them, I can speak to who they are, because it's who I am. So because I'm already like perfect this week right here, because I know my purpose is as a chef, and I know this week is what I do is all Thanksgiving prep, right? People are attracted to that because I know my purpose is to fulfill your need to give you pans of food for Thanksgiving. That's something real simple, right? So what I do is I promote stuff that's based on my purpose and based on what I do. So now everything comes naturally to me. Like I never have like what I realized is I never worried about lack. This has been years now that I don't worry about lack anymore because I realized that if God called me to this purpose, He's given me clarity of it. He gives me the clarity, not me. He gives me the clarity. So now when I move, everything just happens automatically. Where before I used to worry about bills, it's gonna get paid. I don't know how, I don't know where, but because sometimes you're sowing your gift, you're sowing your seed, everything that you need will always be provided when you show up with purpose and you have clarity of that purpose.
Okay, so we're going to another level of sewing because I thought we were going to be on level 1 or level 2, but I think we went to level 4 and 5 because you just talked about effortless sewing. I had to type it in the chat, and sewing out of your being. You were like, purpose is who I am. So every time I spread a seed, it's all laced with purpose, right? If I'm going to put out something here for Thanksgiving, it's all about purpose and serving in purpose. If I'm going to do this, it's all about purpose. Everything is laced with purpose. And a lot of the times we're sowing, we're sowing out of our lack and not out of our being. We're looking at, oh my gosh, I don't have, you just said, I don't sow because I'm in need. I sow because that's who I be. You were like, I'm not worried about getting the money and all the other stuff. It's going to happen anyway. But I sow out of my being. And I'm like, this is where God is bringing us today. This is where we need to really open up our eyes and start looking at who we are being in the industry, who we are being in business, instead of looking to see where can I get it back from. It's a different mindset because the sowing part is not, I am sowing so I can reap later on. I'm going to reap anyway. I'm sowing because this is just who I am. That's a whole nother level, a whole nother discussion, and how to integrate sowing into your being where it's no longer heavy. It doesn't feel like I'm ripping something out of me in order to sow. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I gotta, sow another thing and I only have $20 left and then I gotta sow 15 out of it and I only gonna have 5. It is just now, this is just who I am. This is who I be. When I sow, things are gonna come back to me because I'm opening the door to receive when I give.
Yeah, so I'm looking at right now. So I just pulled up a scripture. Now, can you look up righteousness?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look up. All right, so in 2 Corinthians 9 verse 10, in the scripture about sowing, right? It says, I'll go to now he who provides seed for the sower and bread and food for the I read again. Sorry. So it says that in the Amplified version. Now he who provides seed for the sower and bread for food will provide and multiply your seed for sowing. This is your resource and increase the harvest of your righteousness, which shown itself in active good kindness and love. Now, what that means is, and let's talk about purpose, right? So we're talking about now who provides seed. So your purpose is your seed, right? Because I sow my seed as my gift to bless other people, right? So, for example, is as food. Once I cooking is my seed. When I prepare the food for people, it starts to grow into other areas of my life, right? So as I'm being purposeful with just being me, a natural soul, like naturally, I love to feed people. Naturally, I'm always feeding people. I'm always feeding students. I'm feeding like people always hungry, so I'm always providing the food part, right? So the fact that now I'm in purpose with my gift of being a chef and giving, right? When I sow my gifting, it naturally comes back to me because I'm sowing, but I'm going to reap back because God always makes need for what you need. So for example, if I have a need, the first thing I'm going to do is sow a seed. So let's say, for example, I know somebody, if I got extra food on me, right? I will make pans of food to bless somebody because I know I need finances for certain things. Whatever you're lacking, you have to sow it. Like a lot of times when I have certain bills, like I don't have enough anyway, so I'm gonna sow that into somebody else's business to help my business grow. Literally last week, I sold a seed to this one chef, real cool people. I sold it to her, like I sold into her business, and literally this week, I'm reaping the harvest of that because I know that if I wanted to see increase in my life, I have to sow seeds. Now, seed is not always money. Sometimes it's your time. Sometimes it's sowing love into people. Sometimes sowing will always be the key to unlock harvest for you. So if you're lacking in your business, like for example, we know that Black Friday's coming up, it's a money making season. December's coming up, it's a money making season. And if you're not experiencing harvest in your business, that means you gotta sow a seed. So you may got $1 on you, sow it into somebody's business. You may got 50. So it's like once you sow into somebody else, you'll start to receive back. But sometimes we're giving in a tight place because we don't have enough ourselves. But once you change your attitude, you have to realize there's a frequency with giving. The more you give, the more you receive. And you're not just giving just to be like, I want to receive. You're giving to bless other people, but you got to realize giving postures you in a way that when you have lack, especially in your business, if you sow a seed, even to let me give somebody free coaching service if you're a coach. You know what? Let me do somebody's hair for free. Like, hey, let me do your hair. Like whatever sow of your gift, and your gift will bless you back because you never that person may be the one person that posts your stuff on Instagram and someone's like, where'd you get that cake from? Who did your hair? And like, oh, so and so did it. Oh, and this person now needs a personal stylist for them for their hair. Like you just never know how it works, but it's just like you have to be open to give. But when you don't have clarity of your purpose, you don't know how to sow because you all over the place, not realizing that once you get in alignment with your clarity and your purpose, everything will flow smoother and you'll see where you need to go and who you need to impact.
That part right there. The part that gets me is everybody thinks that we need money, right? So they'll sow money, 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 expecting money in return. But there are certain things that you can't use money to get. So yeah, it would be nice to have $1 million and all that good stuff. That's what I want. I'm gonna get that, and so that's one of my desires. But I also want to be fulfilled in my call, and I want to help other people get $1 million. And so, what do? I go on Facebook and I ask people, and I put out my stuff and my services on Facebook. But I also realize that there are other people that are doing the same thing. So I share their posts or I comment or I like or whatever the case may be, because sometimes people are just looking for engagement. So I said, you know what? I'm going to decide to be more engaged in other people's their content. Like I can't be selfish. And my content coach started be like, yeah, y'all be all real selfish. Y'all need to engage on other people's platform. But it also has like a heart issue to deal with too. So working out the heart, why don't you want to engage in other people's platforms? Okay, you feel like if I post something or I'm going to dilute my page or whatever the case may be, dealing with all of that. And I decided to start commenting and sewing on Facebook with other people. And this past week, I saw 2 people, 3 actually, maybe more. I'm just scrolling through Facebook and my posts are on their feed. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't even know because it didn't give you any alerts or anything. It's just me scrolling through and I'm seeing that they're sharing, hey, I want to work with you, sharing my link, sharing certain things. And I was like, yo, but I didn't expect it anymore because now my mindset was, after working through all that stuff, is I just need to sow. I just need to sow into somebody else's business because they're probably going through the same thing as me. They're looking to have, more exposure. And that's something money can't buy. I probably could pay them, but how would I pay them out of what I don't have in order for them to share? And just by sowing in that area, I was able to reap in that area as well. Like we think it's limited to just money. And I know when people think about I think about a seed. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my thinking and my opinion. If you want apples, you want to sow apple seeds. If you want oranges, you want to sow orange seeds. If you want bananas, you want to sow bananas. So if I want money, I sow money. But I don't always want money. Sometimes I want the exposure. Sometimes I want
That's
to
good.
connect with the right people. And so because that's what I desire, I have to now say, how can I sow into somebody else? And not immediately expecting it to come back, because there's a, like your boy, our boy, Michael Ty says, it's seed time, harvest. And we forget about the time, and we get so mad because it's just like you sow the seed and you're like, okay, but I sowed the seed and nobody ain't
Where
getting
that?
back to me today. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
just sowed it. We don't even know if you genuine in your sowing, because you just you could come back tomorrow and be like, I don't want this. I don't want to deal with this no more, and just be gone, because people have done that. But when you are consistently, you said that to me earlier, it's not just about sowing, but it's the consistency behind it that's causing this thing to come back to you. Oh man.
But that's good what you said about that part too. I didn't even think about that. Um, a seed has a color, a flavor, a type, a design, right? So if you know that you want to receive in this area, you have to sow of that same area. So oftentimes people want to be blessed, in these different areas that they just sow into. Like you got to pay your dues. There's no getting around paying your dues, right? I know for example, for me, when it comes to coaching, I've applied to other coaching programs. So it's like I can expect to get that back because I sold into other
Come
coaches.
on.
When it comes into food, I've sold into other businesses. Like I'm big on supporting businesses. I'm big on to like if
Yes.
I'm gonna post them, right? Even too, like I can't expect myself not to get posted if since I share people stuff all the time. So why like it's like the law, it's like a law. What you reap, what you sow is what you reap. So if you don't sow anything, how can you expect to reap? And so oftentimes in life we put a demand on stuff that we didn't invest into. Like even to
Mm.
my students, sometimes they get frustrated with me about certain things, but I'm like, but you ain't do the work. So it's like how do you want to
Oh my gosh, I can't
receive
hear you.
increase in this area when you didn't
Oh, there
sow
you
it?
go.
And it's like a baffling it's a baffling thing because it's just like you ain't when the Holy Spirit told you to sow these seeds, when he told you, hey, you need to give to this person, hey, do this, hey, do that. Like for example, is the reason why I can make in my job area even as an educator, technically I should be making way less, right? Because I've only been teaching 10 years, right? There are people who started way before me and it's making way less than me. I'm making at least almost like 15 to 20K more than them. The reason why is I paid my dues as an educator when I first started going above and beyond, staying later, doing competition with kids, like really studying my craft. Like literally, I took summers to study how to be a better teacher. I took days reading culinary textbooks, reading books about how to teach. So when it comes to me being a teacher now, and it comes to my skill level as a sought after educator, people want me to come because they're like, yo, no, this guy is good at what he does. He's on point. It's because I sold into that. I worked very hard at it. So now when I'm reaping the benefits of reaching top dollar in different places, I sold into that. And people don't realize that if you don't implement sowing into your life, the areas of lack will always be areas of lack. The way you feel a lack is by sowing the seed. So if I and this always works every time. When I know I don't have, especially when it comes to bills, if I know I got all of it, I'm gonna find somebody that got a seed, they got a bill to be paid, and I'm gonna sow that into them so I can get mine paid. If I know business is slow, I'm gonna sow business into somebody else because I want business myself. Like you got to be so strategic about how you sow and how you really think about that. If you don't take time to literally live your life purposefully in sowing, but it takes you having clarity of your purpose. Like so oftentimes we're so distracted about different things, and we're so easily distracted because we have not taken time to say, hey God, what do you want me to do in this season of my life? Where do you want me to be? How do you want me to do this? How do you want me to flow? And a lot of times, and sometimes for me, because I've been teaching and in culinary for so long, like I started my business when I was 10. So sometimes I get comfortable with how I move because I know for a fact that, oh, this is how this works, this is how this. And I just said, nah, let me stop. Holy Spirit, what do you want me to do in this season? How do you want me to move differently? How do you want me to speak differently? How do you want me to move so that whenever I do, or whatever I do, it not only glorifies you, but it also makes the crooked ways straight. It makes the paths that seem like it was so much darkness, it makes it lit. Like when you start to operate in purpose and you move how you're supposed to move and you start asking for direction from God and everything, things that seem so hard will become so easy and so smooth. But it takes us really coming to a point where we're like, hey, I'm going to be transparent in this moment. I am having difficulty, God, in this area of my life. Show me, give me clarity of the purpose of what I'm supposed to be experiencing. Show me how I'm supposed to be in this season. Once you develop that transparency with God, and I don't want to be so churchy about it, but I learned this as like, I don't even remember Sister Joyce used to go to our church. She said to me years ago, she said, Josh, the reason why I really enjoy watching you, I had to be like 15 when she said this. She said, you're like cookie dough. You allow God to roll you so many different ways, have the same flavor, but you allow God to move you different ways so he get the glory. It's the same person. But I realized that we all have different gifts that God has given us. But when you allow your gift, it's like the person who they gave the talents to and he buried it instead of sowing it. Like he said, if you would at least invested it, I would have made something off of it. And so oftentimes we have all these gifts that we never sow to other people. So you wonder why you're experiencing lack. Lack is destroyed when you find your purpose and you get clarity of it quickly. The faster you get clarity of your purpose, you start moving to where you hear God say, hey, sow the seed over here. Hey, you know what? That kid right there in the classroom was going, like one of my kids yesterday, he was like, I've never seen this kid cry, but he was like crying yesterday. And I pulled up this, but if I was so busy like doing stuff, I would have shut that kid down. And I went to the kid, I gave him a hug. I'm like, yo, what's wrong? But this kid trusted me enough because he saw that, because like a lot of times, you know, it's like we get through the cracks like of life. A lot of kids just slip through the crap. A lot of experiences just slip through the crap. Certain lessons just slip through because we're not alert, because we're so busy not being proactive with like finding our identity, right? My purpose is directly attached to my identity, because once you become purposeful, your identity starts to be revealed. Like for example, this with Natalie, right? As soon as she started to focus on coaching and started to really get into her word, read these books, her identity as a clarity coach came to her automatically because she was already doing the work. There are a lot of times we're not doing the work, but we expect to reap the benefit of the work. I can't get no paycheck if I don't sow and to do the work for it. I cannot get a check. And so oftentimes we want to cash checks that we haven't worked for. When you start to really align yourself where God wants you to be, clarity becomes simple. Living your purpose becomes simple. Getting checks in the mail, gifts and surprises becomes simple. Being worried now for what you do becomes simple because you actually start moving in your purpose, and God will always supply the need of purpose.
Trying to see if I have a check over here I can wave to. I can't find it.
Came in the mail, so you already know the vibe.
Checks in the mail. Do I have a check? I sure do. Don't even look at the number. Look, checks in the mail. You hear me? Even in a time where people were depositing, we got checks. Ooh, yo. Oh my gosh. So you just blew the lid off of what sowing looks like, because again, we have been limited in our mindset to think that sowing is just the money, right? But you said, Natalie, I couldn't, or all of us. Hold on, my ear's itching. You just told all of us, you said, I cannot be in this place where I'm making $20,000 more than the average teacher who's been in the game longer than me if I had not taken the time to invest more in the beginning. So what looked like you was doing the most, what looked like you was just, you were not, you doing too much, or you don't even have enough time. You don't have time to be, because you started teaching when you were young. You don't have time to be young. You don't have time to experience life as a young adult, and you doing all of this stuff and you using up all of your time. You using up all of your time in this area, you understood the principle about sowing and reaping and how it was not limited to your money. And you said, I'm going to sow my time, I'm going to sow my energy, I'm going to learn what I need to learn now, because on the back end, 10 years from now, I'm going to be reaping a harvest 20 times, 20 plus, $20,000 plus what the average person in my industry is going to be doing. Man, that's what we're talking about. That's the level that we got to be on. And people get mad at other people when in 3 years' time, they've only, made a certain amount in their business. And the other person they're looking at is making 100,000. And it's like, you're trying to cash a check that you've never worked for. You're trying to cash a check you never worked for. And the work does not always look the same. It doesn't always look the same. You said you were working with after school programs. Who knew working with the after school program would be an investment into your future 10 years later to make more money? God did. That's why he told you to go through that program. And we're like, oh, snap. It's not about what Chef Jay did. Somebody else going to listen to this and try to do exactly what you did. But the main point is you listened to what God said to do. You did exactly what he told you to do, and you reap the benefit later on. Are we listening to what God is telling us to do? Some of y'all are like, I don't really believe in God. What about your intuition? Your gut is telling you do this and not do that. Your gut is telling you don't follow that particular arena. I want you to go here. And you're like, but they made money that way, but they did it that way and it worked out for them. Let me do it this way so it could work out for me. And your gut is telling you, I don't care how you try to flip it and clean it up and do it like them, because you're not fully investing in who you are. You're not sowing out of your being. You're sowing out of what you desire, your lack of, oh, maybe I want to eventually be like that. You're never going to ooh, man, I'm sorry. It's just so much right now that I'm like, this is so good. It's really helping me understand even myself even better and how to just approach my students. It's like everything really flows out of your being. I don't care if because a lot of times they'll say, oh, I sold $30,000 into this coach and I didn't receive the benefit of it. Did you only sow $30,000? Did you position yourself to actually receive? Did God tell you to go there in the first place? Like, you really have to have, like Chef Jay, we're going to come back all the way because Chef Jay says this, and we have to remind y'all, self-awareness. We have to have self-awareness. We have to be self-aware. We have to be able to get to a place where we can trust ourselves in this journey and not rely on so much on what everybody else is doing, and really hone in on the clarity of your purpose, because your purpose don't always look like everybody else's purpose. Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
So you know what just made me think about that, the scripture about John 7 verse 37 and 39. It talks about how Jesus was saying, if anybody is thirsty, come for him for a drink. Whoever believes in me, the scripture says, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water, right? Now, when that says that part, I just think a lot of times we're just not hungry enough. Like there's so many times that we can really like experience the best of things, but because we're not hungry enough to really go to the next level, we stay put. You can't be surprised when it's like you're going through a situation and you're like, man, like, I wish this, I wish that. Stop wishing about stuff you can have action to. There's so like, one thing about me is I might be broke for like a day, but I'm going to work so hard that by tomorrow it's not going to stay the same situation. There's so many times that we just get so comfortable with lack. We get comfortable with going without.
We do.
We're not experiencing the best because we may be in situations where it was okay for another generation or your grandparents, or you may see that your family has been out of lack, but it's like, yo, that's them, not me. So because I want to experience the fullness of God on this day, I'm going to do my best work. And even when it comes to like some of my students in class, when one of them was writing this paper, and I'm like, that paper is trash, bro. He's like, but I said, it's no but. I said, how you do anything is how you do everything. If you work lazy, you'll receive lazy. If you
Mhm.
sow big, you'll receive big. How you do everything in your life is always going to determine the end goal for you. But the thing about it is, like he says in the scripture right here, if anyone is thirsty, come to me and drink. God will provide all of your needs according to his riches and glory when you come humble and thirsty for more. Like when I know for a fact, I know there's certain things that I never try to be complacent with living, right? Like I know as a chef that I can do so much more. So I'm always looking to go to the next level. Like even to like with this school year, I'm finding ways to be a better teacher. And it started by me like going to this master's program. So I'm trying to find better ways to teach my students. They're like, Chef, you've been a little too hard this year because I'm making them write full essays. No, because I want you to realize that when you go into the real world, you'll be so prepared that you'll be like, man, I'm glad I did write that. I'm glad I did learn how to be a better writer, to be a better articulator of how I express things. But it has to be a choice where you say, listen, God, I want more and I'm thirsty. And when you come to him thirsty, he'll make sure that whatever you have going on in your life, all your needs will be supplied. And out of your heart will flow rivers of living water. So when you fill up with the things of God, when you fill up in purpose, when you fill up in clarity, as soon as you start to open your mouth, things will start to flow freely. Like I can talk to Natalie about something, about one word, and she'll be able to give me clarity, flow. But she flows because she shows up thirsty to different environments. Like, hey, this is where I'm going to thirst and get all of my thirst quenched because I'm showing up thirsty. I'm showing up hungry. And a lot of times in life, if you don't design your life to be hungry about stuff, like even too, maybe you got to wake up an extra 10 minutes in the morning to maybe to read, to exercise, to focus, to go walk in a park. You got to like really, and like I like to play games on my phone, like word games, because it helps me start practicing bigger words, different words. Like you want to develop a witty mindset, but wit comes from you learning. Like my mom, she's a librarian, and one thing she didn't play with my sister does, we had to know how to write. We read books all the time. Like it wasn't an excuse. So when it comes to our vocabulary, when it comes to our knowledge, we can go in any circle and talk about anything because she taught us how to have a thirst for knowledge. Don't be okay with being like just regular. Don't be okay with that.
Mhm.
Once you start to realize that you want more out of life, you got to show up hungry, show up thirsty. Say, you know what? Today is my day to learn something new. Today, I'm going to learn 5 new words. Today, I'm going to read the dictionary. Today, I'm going to write a book. Today, I'm going to read this. Today, I'm going to do this. Today, I'm going to learn how to do better math problems to get myself witty. Find out what works for you because once you start to really take time to really get clarity of your purpose and start to like hone in on those skills, God will provide all your needs, but it's up to you to come to him thirsty, come to him hungry, show up every day hungry for life. I want this day to be the best day I've ever experienced in my life, and you can always do it. You got anything to add, Natalie, before we wrap up?
Nah, it's good. I'm like, I gotta go back and listen to the replay.
Like I said, if you're looking for coaching, all right. So we've been doing this podcast for over
Yeah.
a year. This is week number 70. I don't know, 70 something.
76.
76. We missed a few episodes, but
You said 76.
if you have not reached out for coaching, you've watched some of those episodes, or you're new to the podcast, tune in, tap in, lock in, and grow because we're about growing. We want to help you grow. We want to help you reach those next levels. And it's just time to just grow, boss up, building opportunities to choosing it successfully. And that's it for this week. We're going to see y'all next week. All right.
All stop, fam.
Uh,